Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio here at Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We're broadcasting from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy. Our first guest today is from Playhouse on Park in West Hartford, Tracy Flater. She's been on our program before. And Tracy, it's always great to chat with you.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. Where have you been sheltering in place during the pandemic?
We've actually been at the apartment in Hartford, which has been great because then I can take one little trip to the theater every day just to check the mail. and then I scurry back home. But yeah, no, we're in Hartford right now. And Tony's kind of migrating between both, Western Mass and Boston. So
I would assume that for Playhouse on Park, as with every other performing arts organization, it's been a really tough time.
Oh, so tough and so sad. We were so excited for our spring, and we had a great winter, and we had some really exciting things coming up. And, just so sad on so many levels to not be producing theater, to not be together. As a team, our staff is more like a family, and we were really looking forward to what we had planned. So yeah, no, it's challenging, yes, financially and in many other ways, beyond challenging. And, the most important thing is just everyone is safe, everyone is healthy, and we wonder every day, like, when can it come back? That's the hardest part.
Have you totally canceled the season, or you have one show that last I heard was still a possibility?
Yeah, it should have been you. We haven't officially decided. We were sort of hoping to wait and hear the governor's plans for May 20th, but it's not looking promising. So we're probably going to make an official decision sometime over the next week or so. Yes, very much looking forward to it. Should have been you. It's rarely produced. We felt that if it could still go on, it would be even more perfect, based on what's going on and what people really need, which is, a true escapism, a happy, fun, funny story. Disappointing.
Do you think that some of the shows that you had to cancel can be resurrected for next year?
I do. Well, I don't know if they can. I will say our Theater for Young Audience, Dr. Wonderful, which was written by Lauren Gunderson, who wrote The Revolutionist, which was a fantastic production we had last year at the theater. We have officially moved that to next fall. So that was supposed to happen late May, early June. And we had 24 performances for school groups during the daytime for field trips. And then we had another 10 public performances and 2 sensory-friendly performances, and we made the decision to just push that to the fall. The other shows that have been canceled, Divas, the Stop Time Dance Theater, we've postponed it. We were hoping to bring it back at some point, before next season, and, we're still kind of crossing our fingers because it's only 10 performances, and all of the dancers are local. But if that can't happen, it will certainly come back at some point. Ugly Lies the Bone, and if we have to cancel It Should Have Been You, may not come back next season, but will definitely come back in a future season. Our season, we postponed the announcement for next year, but it's pretty solidified. And once you start changing it up, it sort of changes the balance and the theme of the season. So not everything will move to next year, but we do hope that it'll all come back at some point.
As you were planning this, were you planning the following season, or the one that would start in the fall, during the pandemic, or had you really built that before?
No, really long before, and we typically announce our season April 1st. And we would be hard at work the weeks leading up to that, preparing the subscriber renewal packets and getting ready for what we call our big reveal. We usually have an evening where we invite our subscribers and sponsors and donors to the theater for dessert, and we unveil the season. We closed shop March 16th, and our entire staff went on furlough. And, we could have still announced the season April 1st, but we wouldn't have had the big reveal and we wouldn't have had the subscription packets completed. But we just it felt wrong to us. People were distracted. They were concerned and worried. And, the last thing they want to think about is renewing their subscription. So we're hoping to announce next season mid-June, probably June 15th, 16th, as long as it feels like it's the right thing to do. And we're looking at ways we can proceed with a season, but take into consideration there may be some social distancing requirements and or restrictions on performance. And what will we do if scenario B or C come into play? We're really challenged with our space with the social distancing rules as they stand. For some of the restaurants and such right now. Our 163-seat theater would be reduced to 35, maybe a little less, if we had to keep 6 feet between each group of people. So we don't know if we can afford to produce that way, and is there opportunity to, in addition to those that are willing to come, can we stream? Can we videotape? And, it's not ideal, but we definitely might need some backups. So it's concerning.
I definitely is. I mean, the only theater so far that has announced a summer season proceeding is Barrington Stage, and they've completely revamped it. And the thing I find interesting is, they have a 500-seat house, and they'll only sell probably 125 tickets so they can social distance people, but they also have to social distance the actors. So instead of doing big shows, they're doing solo pieces, 2-character pieces. And I think that a lot of the other theaters have gone to online programming. I know you certainly have, and there's a variety of stuff that you put online to keep your audience engaged.
Yeah, we do have a lot going on online. Unfortunately, it's not really any of our full-length productions. We licensing, the licensing requirements and Actors Equity typically, forbid that. So we tend to video for archival purposes only, which is a single camera, a wide shot of the stage. It's not really ideal for public consumption. So we weren't sort of equipped to put out, copies of our performances, but we've tried to find other unique and creative ways. One of our artistic directors is teaching a dance exercise class every single day at 12 o'clock on Facebook Live, and I think she just celebrated her 52nd consecutive class. She's there every single day, and her following has grown. And people are so grateful. She gives them something to look forward to. She's very uplifting. She's connected with everyone. As a matter of fact, the day of the 50th class that evening, she had a Zoom party where all of the people who come regularly to dance with her got to see each other for the first time, because typically they can just comment under, her live stream. The other artistic director, Sean Harris, has been doing a weekly chat on Facebook Live on Saturdays, and then we've had some cast reunions on Zoom, which we have a YouTube channel called Where Are They Now? We just did the cast of Pinkalicious. We did the cast of Passing Strange, and coming up we're into Sean and Darlene are hanging out with the cast of the 25th Annual Putnam Spelling Bee. We've got some of our playwrights from our play reading series who've been catching up with our literary director, Sasha Brott, on what's happened with the work since it has left the Playhouse. We have a virtual open mic. We have some online bingo. We have some very creative fundraising happening. A patron, sells jewelry and offered to do a jewelry sale. And in 2 weeks, she raised $1,200 for the theater, which was just remarkable. Sean is saying if he can raise $4,500 by the time he turns 45 on May 22nd, he's going to shave his head live on his little weekly Saturday show, and he's almost raised that amount. So there's some fun stuff happening, and I know that our patrons appreciate it. We've received notes and donations, just thanking us for kind of trying to stay in touch and trying to keep their spirits up and just giving them something to do and something to look forward to.
How can people find out about the online programming that you've got? Where do they go for info?
Yeah, If they just go to our website, which is www.playhouseonpark.org, as soon as you get there, there's a new pop-up screen that just basically says to learn about postponements, cancellations, and online programming. Go to the plan your visit page, and everything is sort of right there. We're trying to keep it all in one spot, and we're just about to start some fun online educational programming. You know, we have a pretty extensive educational program, but I know that with everybody, all the parents adjusting to online schooling, we sort of backed off to trying to be just one more thing that they had to think about. But now that everyone sort of has adjusted to that, we're trying some very short-term fun and pretty much free online educational programs, and I think we'll have something from age 5 all the way up through 18. So we're pretty excited about that as well.
If people want to donate, for example, your ticket holders, they can turn their unused tickets back to you for a tax donation, correct?
Absolutely. We have encouraged, if not begged, for our patrons to consider not asking for refunds at this time, which they can just leave their ticket in ticket revenue, and if they don't care about the tax donation, they can flip it into a fully tax deductible donation without question. And a lot of people have been so generous in doing one or the other, but we've had very few requests for refunds.
That's terrific.
Fortunate.
As a small theater company, you're a not-for-profit organization. Have you, as a theater company, been able to participate in these economic stimulus packages that are being handed out in any way?
Yes. So we put our staff. We all went on furlough. It was sort of a core staff decision. We talked about what would there wasn't really work to do. You could feel it. We closed Pride and Prejudice on March 8th, and March 9th we started striking and loading in for the dance show. But almost immediately you could feel the change in the air. I mean, our final weekend, although COVID-19 was starting to become a very prevalent conversation, and we were taking the necessary steps to disinfect and educate customers on washing hands and that sort of thing. It didn't affect our sales, but really almost the day after we closed, the box office went to radio silent, like nothing. So we had a conversation at the time. The governor was going to close down for 2 weeks. So we said, well, why don't we shut down everything for 2 weeks, not realizing 2 would turn to 6, and so on. But we were fortunate to get the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Plan loan. We were in the first round, and we are currently in week 3. So this is the third week, the end of week 3, that our staff has been back and working all from home. Ideally, I had some challenges with this. So some people chose not to come back because they're making more money on unemployment with the extra $600 weekly stimulus that they're receiving. So that was a little bit challenging and something we've been talking to our legislators about. Understandably so. If you're making a lot more money on unemployment, why would you want to come back to work? But also this program was kicked off thinking that the country was going to be reopening by April 20th, and this would jumpstart everyone back into business. But our money runs out after 8 weeks, which is mid-June, and we don't know when we can produce theater and when people will feel safe to buy tickets again. So I understand that the federal government, the reason that this was created, it was a good plan, but with the extended with COVID-19, not going away, it's just a little bit challenging for us to know how we're going to continue to operate. I don't want to put my staff back on unemployment after 8 weeks of employment. That's not the purpose of the loan, which offers good forgiveness if you keep everyone employed. We did recently also receive the $10,000 advancement from the EIDL loan, but we haven't heard anything about the loan. So both are super helpful for lots of reasons, but with the future in question, they run out. So we'll see.
Okay, we're going to take a fast break, Tracy, to acknowledge the underwriters that make Artsbeat radio and television possible. Before we do, give everybody the website address so people can learn more about Playhouse on Park.
Absolutely, www.playhouseonpark.org.
We're talking with Tracy Flater from Playhouse on Park in West Hartford. This is Artsbeat Television and Radio. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. We'll be right back after we acknowledge the underwriters that make this programming possible.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years. Specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com. They are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat Television and Radio, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach, your host. Don't forget to listen to us every Friday at 8 o'clock. You can listen on 89.5 FM WSKB. You can watch on WCPC 15, Westfield Community Programming on television. You can stream from both entities. Or after the fact, you can catch us on YouTube at the WSKB Community Radio channel on YouTube. If you missed any of the Artsbeats that we've done over the last couple of years, they're all archived there. We're chatting with Tracy Flater from Playhouse on Park in West Hartford. They, along with every other arts organization around and about, have had to do major changes in their seasons due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and everybody's hoping to get back at some point down the road. Tracy, how have you spent the time when you're not managing the theater and you're sheltered in place? Have you been able to take advantage of a lot of the online programming that theaters are putting out?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, we've made a couple of rules that, we don't want to get stuck in a rut. So we exercise every day, which we don't always have time for with our busy schedules. We've been cooking at home, and we've been spending a lot of time, checking out some great theater, some new, online virtual fundraisers, which have been very creative. And we are desperately trying to plan our own virtual fundraiser since our May 30th gala has been, I don't want to say canceled, but postponed for sure. We were planning on honoring John Kander and had expected to travel to his home to tape, a conversation with him. But of course, with COVID-19, that is definitely not going to happen right at this time, and we had hoped to celebrate a lot of his work. So we would like to do that next spring if we can, postpone the in-person gala until next spring and continue with our originally planned tribute to him. And right now we're looking at planning a virtual gala to, just focus on keeping our doors open. And, we're not television producers, so this whole virtual gala thing is stressing me out a bit. We have to learn a lot, from what platforms to use to, how you can put together some quality performance. And so it's been interesting to see how other theaters across the country or across the world have been doing it and doing it well. But just a tribute, to arts organizations and all art forms have been beautiful to watch, and some are just remarkable.
I think the salute to John Kander is so appropriate because you're one of the few theaters in the country that did his musical, The Scottsboro Boys, after it had a very brief run on Broadway.
You know, their work, Kander and Ebb, for our theater, which is only, just fast approaching our 11th anniversary, and very early on, I think in our second season, when we were still only running shows for 2 weeks and maybe 8 performances, we did a performance of Chicago, which was through the roof. And of course, these days our musicals run 7 weeks, 7 performances a week. So it's like a whole different ball game. But it really was the first time that we had sold out audiences and people just really upset that it didn't have a longer run. And a couple of years later, we did Cabaret, and Cabaret was really something that put us on the map. It did have a very extended run. It was the first time, I think it was maybe in our third or fourth season, first time that our colleagues from TheaterWorks and Hartford Stage kind of came in and saw our work. And it was, one of Frank Rizzo's best pieces of theater in the state that year. And, then flash forward to last summer, producing Scottsboro Boys and all of the education and outreach and collaborations we did around that, and how well that work was embraced. We just felt like we owed him something. His work has meant so much to us, and we have permission to perform a lot of his pieces. We've been working with his personal assistant and his business manager, and it's just so sad. It's so sad that we can't do it, and we just don't think we can pull it together virtually as well as we could in person. So we're going to hold off and try to make that happen as soon as we're able to. But in the meantime, I guess we're feeling the pressure of doing something. I mean, internally and externally of finding a way to raise some money.
Did you have a personal relationship between Playhouse on Park and John Kander when Scottsboro Boys happened? Did he come see the show or advised in any capacity?
Nope. As a matter of fact, no. But on opening night, we got a personal note from John and Susan Stroman and the gentleman David, who helped co-write with Kander and Ebb. His last name escapes me at this moment. I'm sorry. But we received this a beautiful note from them thanking us for producing the work, and that they had been hearing really great things. And it caught us off guard because we certainly didn't get a note when we produced the first 2 Kander and Ebb shows. So really. We just sort of circled back to that email when we were thinking about it, and they've all been just, John and his assistant and his business manager have been so gracious, just so gracious in embracing, our desire to want to say thank you to him. So, just bad luck on our part that a pandemic would get in the way.
Yeah, those pesky pandemics.
Exactly. But we definitely hope to do justice. And I will say, there's something funny about the Scottsboro Boys because, we wanted to produce that show. And when we, went to look and see if we could apply for the rights, they weren't available. And, it said, you can join a newsletter and we'll let you know when they are available, or just keep checking back. And I just sort of reached out to our rep at MTI and said, we really feel so passionate about this show. Do you have any idea when? And he said, there's been a few productions, so let me see if I could get special permission. And I don't know why he did that for us. And, his bosses all said that they could make it happen. And, in a few weeks, we actually had the rights, and it was just about the time we were opening that, and that was, of course, a year and a half later, because we announced our season in April the year prior, that MTI announced that the rights were available. So we just felt it was fate for us to produce that show.
I know that you collaborate, and there's a lot of communication between Playhouse on Park and TheaterWorks and Hartford Stage, the Bushnell, and the other arts organizations in Hartford. Certainly, your closing has impacted the area, shops and restaurants. And do you all have ideas of when you might begin to go back? Are you waiting for the governor to reopen the theaters, and will it happen quickly, or do you think it'll be in steps?
Yeah, I I mean, we don't really know, and I have to say that our legislators have been really great at taking the time to have conversations with us and listen to our concerns and our challenges and what it means for us to get back operating and what will happen if we can't. So they're keeping in mind these challenges that we have that, are far greater than most because, we can't certainly, like restaurants can now serve outside effective May 20th. And if they don't have enough room, there's all kinds of rules where they're trying to get them more room to put tables on streets or in their parking lots. And all the zoning laws are going out the window, but that's not something that happens so easily for us.
Yeah, I can't imagine you doing a show curb service, right?
Right. So we're really, really trying to get everyone to understand, but most importantly, I can totally understand why it's hard for the governor to say, hey, this is exactly when you're going to be able to go back and here's how it's going to happen, because he can't predict the future. I understand that. But for us, without really knowing, what path this virus will take and what rules the governor will put into place, it's so hard to see what the future will look like. It's just so challenging. I mean, we're looking at everything from, do we have to have everyone come in through our fire and our fire escape door and exit through the main doors to keep the traffic in one direction? But then, how do you limit how many people use the bathroom or walking past somebody? It's and then to boot, yes, our dressing room space is small, so and touching props and even if you're just with 3 cast members but they pass props around to each other, like none of it will work unless we all feel safe. So it's just not knowing, and it's not in really anyone's control. But we have implored that the more notice the governor can give to especially theaters, and then if there's certain requirements, like we were looking at the pieces of equipment that overnight will sanitize all your seats, and it's $10,000. Like there has to be some support, some funding to if we're gonna have to make big investments like that.
Well, Tracy, we're out of time, but I hope that at some point, let's say within the next couple of months, we'll be able to sit down and chat again. And
I hope so.
The marquee will be lit, and people will be streaming in the door carefully and social distancing. In the meantime,
I hope so too.
Playhouse on Park in West Hartford, playhouseonpark.org. We've been chatting with Tracy Flater, who's their executive director. Good luck to you, Tracy. You've got so many challenges ahead, but I hope you guys are open soon.
Thank you so much, and stay safe and stay healthy.
You too.
Appreciate your interest.
We're going to take a quick break here to acknowledge underwriters. We'll be back with Sean Farley from the University of Massachusetts Fine Arts Center. Don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone, here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. Peter Coles is our chief engineer today. I'm Mark Auerbach, and our guest for this half hour is Sean Farley from the University of Massachusetts Fine Arts Center. How are you, Sean?
I'm starting to get a little that quarantine fatigue everyone's talking about, but hey, I'm good.
Hey,
how about you?
I'm fine. It's Memorial Day weekend, and you know what that means.
I do. Are you wearing your white shoes?
I'm wearing my white. I will be wearing my white shoes at the close of business today, as will millions of other people, whether they're quarantined or not. You still have to social distance when you wear them, but you have from now till Labor Day to strut your stuff in white shoes.
Excellent.
Well,
yes, well, I'll have to get mine out of storage. Yes.
Well, I know that that you canceled a good portion of the remainder of the season, and the upcoming season hasn't been announced. But there have been two major news stories about the Fine Arts Center of late. The first one being that the Fine Arts Center is being renamed, and renamed for somebody who really put the Fine Arts Center on the map.
Yes. That would be Randolph W. Brommery, who was UMass's first Black chancellor and was really responsible for diversifying the campus and for actually bringing Dr. Fred Tillis, our beloved director, emeritus, who just passed. He brought Fred to campus, and he was quite the figure and mover and shaker at that time at UMass. And he actually saw he was there, he was chancellor while the Fine Arts Center building was being built, and was present at its opening with Seiji Ozawa and the Boston Symphony Orchestra.
Was there a Fine Arts Center or performing arts program at UMass before the Fine Arts Center was built?
There was. It was really called the Arts Council, though. So it was certainly created to, do presentations of performing arts events, but not quite to the level of what the Fine Arts Center has done since it's opened, because space was limited. They really didn't have too many places to do that outside of Bowker and the Student Union. So with the construction of the Fine Arts Center, that's why they had the Boston Symphony Orchestra open it in 1975. Of course, there were a lot of protests by students also at that time, because they felt like the Fine Arts Center was elitist and not for them. But since then, I think we've had the right leadership. Fred took leadership of the Fine Arts Center 3 years after it was constructed, after it opened, and he was just one of the best directors they could have asked for in terms of diversity. He created New World Theater, Augusta Savage Gallery, the Asian Arts and Culture Program, Jazz, and he founded Jazz in July with Dr. Billy Taylor and Max Roach. So ever since then, though, even though it might have been thought of as elitist when it was first built, it has been nothing but promoting arts by our global population of artists, and also, every kind of ethnic and gender background you can think of. So we're very proud of that.
And this Chancellor Brommery, for whom the center's going to be renamed, he was a jazz devotee, as I recall, and also I think he was a musician.
Yes, he was. He played the saxophone, I believe, himself. And I was just talking to someone the other day who said they remember seeing him at Whitmore, and he'd be singing a Charlie Parker song. So he was really an interesting guy, and so we're glad to have the building named after him.
So how will the building be referred to in the future?
It will. Well, we've been pondering that. The official name is the Randolph W. Brommery Fine Arts Center. And I want to be clear that it's the building, not the organization, because I work for the Fine Arts Center, the organization, of which many of our events take place in the Fine Arts Center building. But also we have the Department of Music and Dance that live there, and also the theater department that lives in that building. So and we have the Byzantine Recital Hall, which remains the same, Rand Theater, which remains the same, and the University Museum of Contemporary Art. So it's really just the building that's named after Chancellor Brommery.
I think it's an exciting thing for the Fine Arts Center, because without him, there wouldn't be a Fine Arts Center.
Pretty much, yeah. That's
now,
right on.
We lost Fred Tillis recently. I knew Fred Tillis because during the years that I worked at WFCR and you and I got to know each other, he was such a community presence, not only on the University of Massachusetts campus, but within the community. A great musician, just had the most wonderful smile. He was the one that really took the whole Fine Arts Center from being just another university performing arts center and gave it cachet.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, Fred was responsible for really trying to remove the word fine from Fine Arts Center, because I think a lot of times people are put off by that, thinking that it's elitist. And he made sure that the Fine Arts Center was for everyone. And that's why he diversified, which was, like I said, originally started out as like an arts council, and then you had a programmer, and it was just the main stage series that was present at the time. But then he felt like it needed more. It needed more art for the people that was diversified. And so that's when he got New World Theater. He brought them on board, and along with Roberta Uno, to create that. And from that was also the Jazz in July program and Bright Moments, if any of you remember that wonderful concert that happened in the summer. And then he brought Ranjana Devi and her Asian Arts and Culture program on board. Augusta Savage Gallery needed someone to kind of help them, budget-wise, and so we brought in Augusta Savage Gallery, Hamden Gallery, Residential Arts. I mean, you name it. It was really a great time when Fred was there, because it was, and he hired me in 1987, so I got to work with him for the last 10 years of his tenure there. So that was very special for me.
Yeah, because you started at the Fine Arts Center the same year that I went to WFCR, and he was one of the first people that I met on the campus when I was up there and had gone to the Fine Arts Center, and that was before I knew you, actually. And I was introduced to him, and he had the best smile in the world.
Didn't he? Oh, my God. I just talked to Esther Terry the other day, who, for those who know, she was a vice chancellor, and she was founder of the Afro-Am programs in New Africa House. And she said, you'd be walking across the campus, and you might be in one hell of a mood, but as soon as you saw Fred and he flashed that smile, everything would just melt away. And that is so true. I mean, he just had that charm about him. But he also, when people refer to him as a gentle giant, he got things done and people listened to him. I mean, he had unwavering integrity and such strength of character. And even our own Tom Reaney at WFCR was telling me a story about how the jazz programming at WFCR was being threatened, And Fred would have none of it. And he went over to the chancellor and said, no way, you can have your classical, but you also have to have jazz. And so Jazz a la Mode was able to maintain its presence. And it was because Fred took his big stick over there and said, no way, man, you're keeping the jazz. So, I've heard such great stories all week from people about Fred and what he meant to them as students, as colleagues, as artists. He will be missed. And he was so prolific. I mean, it wasn't just as an administrator. He was an incredible composer of jazz and classical. He was a poet. Had written so many books. He was quite the Renaissance man.
It's funny, when I posted his obituary, the announcement that the Fine Arts Center made, when I had posted it to my personal Facebook page, a friend of mine who I had worked with at Stage West years prior to my getting to WFCR said, "Oh my God, Fred Tillis played at my wedding." And she told a story, or she told me the story about how wonderful he was as a human being, and she had no idea that he was at the Fine Arts Center, or how powerful he was not only in the administration of the Fine Arts Center, but in terms of culture everywhere else. She said he was just the most fabulous thing. He made my wedding perfect. And I never thought of him as playing house parties or weddings or anything like that, but he did.
Yes, yeah.
So,
and he's played with a lot of musicians in the area. And, he was never too proud. He loved playing his instruments for anyone, clarinet, saxophone. He was a consummate musician.
So what did he do in the years after he retired from the Fine Arts Center?
Oh, he was still an incredible arts advocate, and continued to, advocate for the arts on campus and off campus. But he was that was his time to continue composing. He spent most of that time composing music, and I believe Tom was going to be playing some of his music, and I don't recall if it was last night or if it's coming up tonight, but he was also still writing poetry and publishing books. He was traveling a lot with his daughter Pam. So he was still very, very active up until I would say fairly recently. He just turned 90 in January, so he was pretty active. He was still going to performances at the Fine Arts Center and Bezanson for I would say right up until this past spring. So before everything closed down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, we got to take a quick break to acknowledge the underwriters of Artsbeat. So we're going to take this break and want to remind you that Artsbeat is here every Friday at 8 o'clock on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 on 89.5 FM WSKB. You can listen or watch or stream. And if you missed a part of this program or any of the others, we store them and archive them on WSKB Community Radio's YouTube channel. Peter Coles is our chief engineer today. We're broadcasting from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we will return after a couple of announcements.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back, everyone, to Artsbeat here on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. Artsbeat's every Friday at 8 o'clock. Next week, we'll be running an archive edition of Artsbeat with Patrick Berry, our guest. Many of you remember Patrick from the Westfield News Show here on WSKB, or remember him as the publisher and president of the Westfield News Group. He moved on to Mass Appeal at Channel 22, and we got to spend an hour with him just chatting away. So that's next Friday at 8. Right now, we're chatting with Sean Farley from the University of Massachusetts Fine Arts Center as we launch Memorial Day weekend and white shoe season. Sean, I know you postponed or canceled a good part of the spring season. When do you think that you all will be making an announcement about what's coming for next year?
Do you have a crystal ball, Mark? Can you help me out with that, man? We don't know. I heard a little bit of your previous guest before I came on, and we're dealing with the same issues. We don't know when we can announce because we are bound by the state because we're a state institution, and also what the university is going to do. So this is what I can tell you. This is what I know right now. It looks like our fall season is going to be extremely limited. When you read the data that's out there, and we've done a survey with our subscribers, and we're just finishing another survey today with gallery and museum audiences as well as performing arts audiences, just from the general patron database. People are not going to feel safe about going into a theater until there is a vaccine, period. It's going to be extremely difficult with the kind of performances that we present, like major dance companies, orchestras, acrobat troupes, family programming. Artist fees are at a certain level, and through talks that we've had with other venue managers and people who are experienced in social distancing, we would have to drop our 1,800 seat seating capacity, our concert hall seating capacity, from 1,800 to 600 seats to allow for social distancing. Well, I don't know about you, but that's not going to happen. You can't have 600 seats, 600 people in seats and be able to afford a major dance company unless those people are willing to pay, $150, $200 a piece for tickets. So we're following the research. We're waiting for recommendations from the state government and from the university. I think by June, we'll have an idea of what the university will be doing, whether or not they'll be bringing students back on campus or if it'll be a hybrid of online and in person. But guaranteed it will be a smaller student body. You just can't all of a sudden bring back, nearly 25,000 students and accommodate social distancing. So there's just a lot of questions.
Of course, if the university decided to go to an online setting, there wouldn't be an audience to come to a live performance.
Exactly. And not only that, we rely on students as our labor force. They're in our box office, they're backstage, they're in our marketing and administrative offices, they're in our galleries and museum. It would be very difficult to be open in that fashion. That's not to say we're not going to do anything, but we just don't know yet.
What now?
We're kind of hoping that we're going to do spring. So we're kind of like, maybe push all of our, marketing hopes and dreams into that time frame. But again, we don't know.
And I would assume, though, that you have to book these companies whether they're going to perform or not, because they have to, something like the Alvin Ailey Company books for several years out. So your booking people have had to probably put certain things into place whether they're going to happen or not.
Oh, totally. I mean, before this happened, we had the fall and the spring ready to go. And it was going to be amazing. But even some of the artists have canceled their tours. A, if they're international, they're unable to get visas. B, other presenters who are also booking them, because you often do block booking. A Martha Graham or Bill T. Jones isn't going to come out just to do your venue. To make it financially feasible, they've got to be playing at our place, Jorgensen in Connecticut, the Hop in Dartmouth, Boston, New York. So if those presenters cancel, then the tour is canceled. So there's a lot that goes into it. And you know our venue, Mark, right?
Oh, I think I've been there a couple of times.
Yeah. It's continental seating. So tell me, how are we going to do social distancing when you don't have an aisle down the middle? It's like, how many seats is it? Like 40 seats in one row? You'd either have to do shows that have no intermission, and then everyone leaves accordingly, and you sit from the middle out, and then it's getting into the theater. Our lobbies are packed before a show. There's so many logistics that we have to think of. Even people using the restroom. What, are you going to go in there after every single person uses a stall and sanitize it?
Yeah, the challenges are going to be unbelievable for our entire industry on every level.
No kidding.
So switching gear here, where are you socially distancing from?
Me personally?
Yeah. Can you go into the office, or are you working from home?
No, we're all working from home. There's some essential staff that are on campus. We have our director of operations who goes in once a week and just checks the facilities, make sure that there's no leak, nothing's leaking, and that everything's okay. Same with the museum and the galleries. But otherwise, most of the UMASS staff are working from home, and I have no idea when we'll be going back. I really don't. Again, no indication. We're just waiting to hear, after May 18th, when the governor may lift some of the restrictions on non-essential businesses. Maybe they'll have schedules where I can go in Monday through Wednesday, and then my colleague goes in Thursday and Friday. We don't know. We're just waiting to. But I have to tell you, working from home, I know you do that. I know you have a home office, Mark. I don't know how people do it. I have been so busy working from home, I would say busier than when I'm in the office. Because at least when you're in the office, you leave. Here, I'm just all the time.
Well, I don't mind it. What I find very distracting is that because I'm working from home and the rest of the world is, I get pinged on Facebook with messages and instant messenger and stuff from everybody else working at home. So I don't concentrate really well. And then again, I am so easily distracted. I'll be checking Facebook and somebody will post something about food and then I'll have to go in the kitchen and eat something. So it'll be really good. You know, it's just changed a lot for me, although I have always liked working from home and get to concentrate, but I miss the ability to go have a cup of coffee with somebody and have a lunch and interact and network with people, which is so much a part of my life.
Same here, Mark. I mean, I miss that face-to-face that I've had, you and I having lunch together, and just being able to hug. I'm a hugger.
Yes, so am I. I can't hug anybody anymore. And the other thing, I never had to worry about accessorize. I mean, I always accessorize certain wardrobe outfits, but accessorizing a face mask with the rest of my outfit, I had to special order face masks to work.
I know. Well, leave it to me. You know, my wardrobe's mostly black. I found a black face mask, so I've got my ensemble.
Well, Sean, I had a friend who I worked with years ago at Wolf Trap who was one of the costumers backstage, and she's making fabulous face masks, and she has an Etsy shop. And so I have purchased some of hers and special ordered, you know, various kinds for some people. So I feel like I'm quasi-accessorizing. And now that white shoe season comes back into our lives today, as Memorial Day weekend approaches, those basic white ones you buy off the shelf, they're going to fit right in with the wardrobe.
Absolutely, but I think now it's time to put some floral prints on there, or you know, Botanica or something. But get a little more spring-like or summer-like with our masks. I agree.
Well, hopefully soon, Sean, we'll get to social distance coffee somewhere or lunch.
Oh, I hope so.
We're out of time, and I want to thank you for joining us. But if people want to learn what's going on at the Fine Arts Center, or perhaps take a look at some of the online offerings that they've got at the moment, fineartscenter.com.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here today, Sean. Happy Memorial Day weekend. This is the end of another Artsbeat television radio feature. Next week, we'll be doing a rerun of an interview that I did earlier this spring with Patrick Berry. It's one of my favorite programs that we've had in months, so I'm glad to share it with you one more time. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer today. This is Artsbeat. We want to thank the people at Studio 120 and our underwriters for making this kind of programming possible here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. If you missed any of this or a previous edition of Artsbeat, go look for it on the YouTube channel for WSKB Community Radio. Catch you next time.
It was a lover and his lass, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no, and o'er the green cornfields did pass, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no. For in the springtime, the only pretty ring time, when birds do sing, hey ding a ding ding. Sweet lovers love the spring. Therefore take the present hour with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no. How that a life was but a flower, with a hey and a ho and a hey nonny no. For in the springtime, the only pretty ring time, when birds do sing, hey ding a ding ding. Street lovers love the spring.